So what we're going to look at in this part is mapping our store states to the properties of our components. So we're going to have access to the state of the store via props in our components. So it's kind of equivalent of passing a property from a parent to a child, but this time we're getting our properties from our store state instead of a parent component. So what we're going to need to do, and we'll do this inside our test component, is first of all we're going to need to bring in the connect from React Redux. This provides us with the binding we need to connect to our store. So we'll import connect from React Redux first of all. And our connect is a higher order component. So that means we need to pass connect or add connect down at the bottom of our file. And as the parameter of connect, we pass it our test component. And our connect needs to take parameters. And the first parameter it takes is our map state to props function. So what we need to do is we need to create a function above our class, and we'll say const map state. And typically you'll see people using map state to props as the name of this function. It can be whatever you want it to be, but this is its kind of conventional name. I personally just prefer to call it map state for simplicity, but what we're really doing here is mapping our store states to our component props. But like I say, I just prefer to call it map state, and then we pass in the state as a parameter here, and then what we'll do is we'll return, so we'll just open some parentheses, and then we'll say data is state.data. And data is the only piece of state we currently have in our store state. And then what we need to do is pass our map state function into our connect function. Now again, this looks a bit weird because we have two parameters now. We have a parameter for connect, and then we have a second parameter for our component. But what this is going to do is, it's when we connect, the map state function is going to be called, which is going to get our state from the store, and what we're looking for in this case is state.data, and we're going to assign it to this data property that we can then use in our component. So what I'll do is I'll just create an h3 tag down below the title of this, and I'll just say the answer is, and then we can add some curly brackets, and we'll say list props data. And this is how we connect our components to our store. We always use the React Redux connect function or higher order component. We pass it the map state function, and this tells it which data we want to get from our store. And then we pass in our test component as another parameter to our connect function or our connect higher order component. And this is going to return a new component, our test component, with the properties from the store. So if we head over to our browser, we can see, first of all, we get I'll just refresh the page to get rid of the warning. And first of all, we get the data inside here. The answer is 42. And if we take a look at our React DevTools, we can see if we search for test components, we can see that we now have a prop for data inside our test component. So this is how we connect our component to the store. And if we briefly go back to the flow diagram of where we're at in our Redux flow, we have our initial reducer which passes the state to our store, or it updates our store with the initial state from the reducer. We wrap our application in a provider that we receive from React Redux and pass that to the store. And then in order to get the state from the store, we use the map state to props function. And then this makes the states from our store available in our container components as props. Now what we're going to look at next is how we can update the states in our store. And the way that we have to do this in Redux is we have to dispatch actions to our reducers, which then have functions which return new states to our store, which is then available via our provider to map state to props, which updates our container components. So that's where we're going next. We're going to look at the map dispatch to props, which means we're going to be creating some actions, and we'll have reducer functions which create new state based on the functions inside our reducer, which then updates our store state. and that's where we're going with this next.